based upon the code that we have written in the previous lecture, when we are trying to perform the auto wiring, there is only a single engine bean available inside my entire web application. So there won't be any ambiguity for my Spring IOC container to inject this engine bean into this vehicle bin. But what if you have a scenario where we end up having multiple beans of same data type? In such scenarios, how Spring is going to handle? Let's try to understand the same. What I have done is I have created a new project with the name example 7. Inside this only I'm going to make all the code changes that we're going to discuss inside this lecture. Let me go to SRC, and under the SRC as of now we have couple of beans, engine and vehicle. Let me delete both of these beans because this time I want to build some other interesting scenario. Under this beans package, first I'm going to create a new interface with the name coffee. So coffee is the interface name. And inside this interface, I'm going to have a single abstract method, which is string make coffee. This is the abstract method. After creating this interface, this time let me try to create a couple of implementation classes of this interface. First, I'm going to create a new Java class with the name Espresso. This Espresso class, it is going to implement coffee interface. And as soon as we implement this interface, the compiler is going to expect us to override the method. So let me override the method of make coffee. From this make coffee method, I'm going to return a string which is espresso coffee. In the similar lines, I'm also going to create one more implementation class. Let me copy and paste the same inside the beans package. This time the class name I'm going to mention as cappuccino. Inside this new class of cappuccino, I'm going to return the string cappuccino coffee. So right now we have two different implementations of same data type, which is coffee. On top of this espresso, I'm going to mention component annotation, followed by I'm also going to give a name to this espresso bean, which is espresso. When you provide a string value to this component annotation, the same string value is going to be considered as a bean name. You can provide any name. Instead of espresso, you can mention my favorite coffee, anything you can mention, but I would like to go with the espresso since it is making sense to me. Let me do the same for cappuccino. On top of this cappuccino also, I'm trying to create a bean with the help of component annotation. Here also, I'm going to mention the bean name as cappuccino with all small case letters. I can't keep a component annotation on top of the interface because we can't create objects from an interface. As a next step, I'm going to create one more bean with the name coffee shop. This coffee shop, it is going to have dependency on the coffee because at the end of the day, inside the coffee shop, it has to sell the various flavors of coffee. That's why I'm going to create a variable with the name coffee. I'm also going to mark this as final. After marking this as final, I'm going to create a new constructor which is going to accept coffee as an input parameter. On top of this constructor, I'm also going to mention auto-void annotation. I'm getting a compilation error because I'm trying to use this auto-void annotation inside a normal Java class. Since this is not a bean, my IntelliJ is throwing this error. We can only perform the dependency injection of other beans inside a bean only. We can't perform the dependency injection of beans inside a normal Java class. To fix this issue, I need to mention component annotation on top of this class. With that, the previous compilation error is resolved, but now I'm getting a different compilation error, which is you're trying to inject the coffee data type as an dependency into this coffee shop. But this time I'm getting a new compilation error saying that could not auto-wire because there are more than one bean of coffee data type. The beans are cappuccino and espresso. This is the error that I'm getting from IntelliJ, but let's try to proceed and try to execute our program. I'll go to Spring main class. Inside the Spring main class, first I'll try to get the bean of coffee shop. The same I'll try to catch on the left hand side with a variable name as shop. Next, I'll try to get the bean of data type coffee. On the left hand side also, I can try to catch the output with the variable name as coffee. Once I loaded these two beans from the context, what I'm going to do is I'll try to use this shop to get the coffee details. But since I forgot to generate the getter method, let me go to the coffee shop, and here I'm going to generate a getter method. I don't want to generate any setter method because we have declared the coffee variable as final. Let me select this and generate the getter method. I'll go to Spring main class, and inside the Spring main class, this time with the shop variable, I should be able to invoke get coffee, followed by I'm going to invoke the make coffee method, which is available inside the implementation classes of coffee interface. Let me delete these two statements. I will save this file and try to execute this program. If I execute this program, definitely I'm going to get a runtime exception saying that no qualifying bean of type coffee available, expected single matching bean, but found two beans with the name cappuccino and espresso. Here also we are getting no unique bean definition exception that we have discussed long back. We can fix this issue by using couple of approaches. Let me show you what are those. The very first one you already know, which is with the help of primary annotation. I'm going to mention this espresso bean as a primary bean or the default bean whenever someone is trying to load the bean of data type coffee. Let me mention at primary on top of this class. After making this change, if I try to execute the program, I'm going to get successful output saying that engine name from Spring context is espresso coffee. So I forgot to change this text. So here instead of engine name, I should say coffee from Spring context. After correcting this statement, let me execute the program again. I got a successful statement saying that coffee from Spring context is espresso coffee. This looks good. This is one approach. There is also another approach, which is a better and recommended approach as well. To show you the second approach, let me go to this coffee shop. Whenever you are trying to perform the auto wiring with the help of constructor injection or field injection or setter injection, in all these kind of scenarios, you can use an annotation called qualifier. Just before the constructor parameter name, I'm going to type at qualifier, and to this qualifier, I'm going to mention the bean name that I want to inject. So here, this time, I'm going to mention the bean name as cappuccino. With this, what is going to happen? The cappuccino bean will be injected by the Spring IOC container into this coffee shop. Let me save this file and execute this Spring main class. This time we got the output as cappuccino coffee. So always the qualifier annotation, it is going to have the highest priority compared to the primary annotation. Though we have mentioned the espresso coffee as a primary bean, but still in our case, we are getting the cappuccino coffee as the output. This is because qualifier annotation has highest priority. In real applications also, you will end up having multiple beans of a single data type. To make sure that your auto wiring is not failing, you can follow either of these two approaches, or you can follow mix of them. You can make one of the bean as primary just to be on the safe side. And inside your auto wiring code, you can decide if you want to switch to some other bean by using the qualifier annotation. To this qualifier annotation, we need to pass what is the exact bean name. In case if you are using the field injection, you just have to mention this qualifier annotation on top of the field, just like this. The same is applicable for setter injection as well. Let me revert this code. I hope you're clear about the qualifier and primary annotation. Qualifier is a very important annotation that you will end up using a lot inside real projects as well. I also prepared a couple of slides explaining you about the purpose of qualifier annotation and primary annotation, what is the role that they are going to play during the auto wiring. Here inside the example, I have an interface with the name engine, and there are a couple of implementation classes with the name petrol engine and diesel engine, and these are the respective bean names. In this kind of setup, since we have couple of beans available for a same data type engine, the auto wiring is going to fail. One of the recommended approach to solve this problem is to use the qualifier annotation along with the bean name. Here I have given the example using field injection. In this slide, I also mentioned when you should use primary annotation and when you should use qualifier annotation. You can use the primary annotation when you want to have a default bean that should be used most of the time. If there is no qualifier mentioned, Spring automatically selects the primary bean to perform the dependency injection. Whereas the qualifier can be used in the scenarios where you need to explicitly specify which bean to be injected by the Spring IOC container. When we use this qualifier annotation, whatever we mentioned with the help of primary annotation will be overridden, and the specific bean that we have mentioned using qualifier annotation is going to be auto-while. In the next two slides, I have mentioned the coffee example that we have discussed. Here, I also try to give some real-life analogy. Think primary annotation as a default choice. If you go to any coffee shop and if you just ask them, I need a coffee, most of the times they will give you espresso coffee by assuming that is your default choice. But if you are very specific, saying that I want so and so cappuccino coffee only, then this is like using qualifier annotation because you're trying to perform the selection explicitly in this kind of setup. Though espresso is the default option, this guy is going to give you the cappuccino coffee because always the explicit selection is going to have highest priority compared to the default selection.